Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario. Welcome to a new year. This is January 2020, and this has now been over 2 years of Mario's Minute. This is Mario's Minute episode 25, and if you've been following it for a minute or the past 2 years or anywhere in between, I really thank you so much for coming out and listening to this and watching it, what have you on here. I'm your host, Mr. Mario 2011, and in case you do not know, this is a monthly podcast that I do here on the channel, and by channel I mean my YouTube channel, Mr. Mario 2011, and this is a podcast where I just kind of shoot the shit and talk about whatever the hell I want to. It can be gaming related, it can be modding, it can be life stuff, but it's just something for me to talk about whatever the hell I want to, and sometimes I have guests, sometimes I don't. I've been trying to do it so every other month I have a guest, and I've been successful with that, thankfully, in 2019. And this month is a guest episode, so we do have one that I'm going to intro here shortly. I did say this is a podcast, though, so if you're checking this out on the YouTube channel, there's not too much to check out. You're more than welcome to comments, because that's where I kind of reference everything and we'll talk with people, but there's really just about a, visualizer that's going to be on screen along with a picture of the channel here. But if you're wanting this in audio form so you can bring it around wherever the hell you want to go, it is available on most major podcasting platforms and apps. Just open up your favorite service and look up Mario's Minute and it will probably be there. Anyways, this January 2020, for episode 25 of this series, I do have a guest on here, and he's a guy I've worked with, on a few videos, so if you've seen him on the channel, this might not be too much of a surprise, or maybe it'll be a big surprise. Maybe this is the first time you've heard of him, but I guess, as I always ask here, to my guest, who the hell are you?
Well, I appreciate it, Mr. Mario. It's always a pleasure not only working with you, but chatting with you. I am Rocker Gaming, and I run the Rocker Gaming channel here on YouTube, and my channel focuses on, mods and projects, various aesthetic mods, all kinds of painting at consoles, just all kinds of things that, honestly, I think are cool, and hopefully others think are cool too.
I personally think they're cool. I think a lot of other people do as well too, since you have, a pretty good following at this point. You just hit 10,000 subscribers, right?
I did. It was kind of crazy. I was like sitting there at work and it kind of like dawned on me. I'm like, oh, holy crap, I've got like 9,990 and some change. And I was like refreshing the app like constantly because, ever since they got rid of the live count on Social Blade, I'm like, okay, now I just got to sit there and refresh the app constantly. And man, you've hit some major milestones as well. So I know the feeling. But man, when you hit 10,000, you're like, I can't believe there are 10,000 people who care enough to actually hit that subscribe button. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that. I do have to ask, though, because, of course, I've hit that milestone before and such, but I have to ask, I know you were excited. Was there any nervousness or any anxiety that came alongside that?
Not really. It was mostly excitement. I think the part for me is that has some anxiety associated with it is like, I keep on trying to push the envelope more and more and more and push myself to come up with more and more creative things that people haven't seen before. I think that's where the anxiety comes in because, realistically, some of these projects take like weeks, months. I mean, like I've got some that have been like, 6 months in the making. And it's like, man, I hope people think this is cool because if not, I just blew 6 months working on this project.
Yeah, that's part of the fun of it as well too. Especially with I really hate blaming the algorithm and all that, and I've been good about not blaming the platform for several years, but there are some times where it's like you really work your hardest on a video and you feel like you've done everything proper on there, and you put it out and either it can completely flop or it can just blow up, and I guess it's the thing of like sometimes something that you'll work a ton on will just completely flop, and it's like, oh, it did average, or it's okay, I guess. But then you'll work on something else where you're just like, oh yeah, this is just kind of a filler video to get out there this week, and it does gangbusters and people love it, and you're like, really? Like, you like this video? Not even I like this video.
I know. Well, it's so funny that you say that, because like the most popular video on my channel is not one that I particularly spent a ton of time with. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't even know how that happens, to be quite frank. But, the ones that I put forth like months on, some of them don't do so great. And you're like, well, it just is what it is. Mm-hmm. So, what can you do?
Yeah, just keep creating more content, I guess.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. That's exactly right.
And then sometimes
That's
this
the
is,
name of the
this is
game.
kind of even a tip I give to other people as well too. Like, don't be even completely discouraged if like when you put out a video and it does okay, you know, you're not just leaving it to die. Depending on how it is and how the trends are and everything, it could be months, it could be years, and that video will just get picked right back up. And all of a sudden,
That's
you'll see a
crazy.
ton of traffic coming from this one video that you're like, oh wow, this completely flopped a year ago, and now it's gotten 20,000 views.
Yeah, that's it's incredible how that works. I mean, that's part of the beauty of YouTube. It's like, it's not like your content's that disposable. Like you said, I mean, it can come back to life at any point in time.
Exactly. Especially with, I mean, some of the stuff that you do as well, where you're doing like custom, like I'm just thinking of like custom consoles, custom Joy-Cons, things like that. If there's going to be, let's say, I don't know, in 6 months, all of a sudden, I'm just thinking of this, like let's say 6 months, there's a bunch of rumors over, you know, some crazy Joy-Con designs that are going to be coming out. I'm sure some of your Joy-Con videos will get picked up like right in that bustle, and then you'll start seeing more views on them.
I couldn't agree more. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Which, speaking of, probably need to do some more Switch content myself.
Oh yeah, yeah. So speaking of content, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, I know if I go directly to your channel, it is a majority of it seems like GameCube, right?
It is, yeah. So I've kind of, it's funny, like everyone kind of starts in their own like little niche to start. Like for me, and if I'm commenting on you, which I mean, maybe who knows if I should do that or not, but I would say like, your following really came from like Xbox 360 stuff. You like when I watch you and you talk about Xbox 360, the knowledge is so deep and it's so apparent when you speak that like clearly that's where your audience is coming from. And
Well, thank you.
and I'm in a very no problem. And I'm in a similar boat with the GameCube. I mean, I've been modding GameCubes for years. I mean, actually before I, did YouTube stuff, I mean, man, I was modding GameCubes back in college. I mean, that's how I paid for part of college.
Nice.
Oh yeah. And so it's interesting. Originally, I was just kind of selling them on eBay, and then life happens, and there wasn't the opportunity to do that as much anymore. And that's kind of how the YouTube thing started. But yeah, that's really where my knowledge base is with GameCube. So a lot of GameCube controller modding, a lot of console modding, things like that. I mean, it's shocking because most people in the 6th gen are like, oh yeah, OG Xbox is the mod scene. And let there be no doubt, that is by far the most popular console to mod. But man, you can do a lot of cool stuff with the GameCube.
I personally didn't really know what you could do with the GameCube until like, of course, I knew about like mod chips and all that stuff, but it wasn't until the past probably 2-3 years I was like, oh wow, there's a small scene on GameCube, and then as it's been getting more support, as people are really going back to that, and I feel like there's a lot less people saying, "Oh, you can just mod your Wii U and play on there. Or you can just mod the Wii." Like that was a big thing for a bit, but now people are just like, "I don't care. I want like the actual cute cube with the handle. I want that, and I want to do mods on that thing."
Absolutely, absolutely. It's great. I love it. I think as I kind of like, you look at the timeline and people's ages and things like that, like, man, 6th gen is like in right now. I mean, it is like really in. And I think to your point, man, people want to get back to their roots. They want to play the cube that they grew up on. They want that, indigo purple cube like they had when they were a kid, and they want to do some cool stuff to it.
Yeah, I know for me at least, I'm in my mid-20s. I'm not sure about you, like age-wise, if you want to disclose that or not, it's all good. But for me at least, my nostalgia is rooted in the PS2, the Xbox. I did have a GameCube. I actually sold it when I was a kid, but it was definitely those. And then I guess kind of, because my first system was the original Xbox, and then I had to go back and play on, the older devices and such. But I always thought the PS1 was cool, so I guess I do have nostalgia in there, and I played a lot of PS1 games on my PS2. But yeah, at least with, it's always common, like, the people who are in their early to mid-20s, that's kind of where the nostalgia boom is going to be, where they were like what they were growing up with, because inevitably they had the thing where they grew up with a system and then they had to sell that system, or the system broke or what have you, and then typically they're living on their own, or they're living with roommates, or running into adult money for the first time. So hey, you know
Yep.
what, I'm going to go to a garage sale or a GameStop or something and pick up one of these old systems and a bunch of games and relive my childhood.
Amen to that. Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, I'm definitely a little bit older than you. I'm in my mid-30s, but yeah, it's crazy for me. The real reason I have so much nostalgia for that is, like I said, I was sitting there in college, and it was like people wanted modded Xbox, and I did a few of those, but the GameCube was one I really gravitated towards for some reason, and man, it was great back in the day. And then of course the 360 came out, and as you know, it was like game over. Everyone needed the 360 right away, and the mods you could do that like back in the day were, oh man, it was so much fun.
That's really cool to me that you were doing that. Like, and so, because when I would have been, a kid in K through 12 while you were in college at that point. But I know, I feel like I kind of, obviously I did miss that era because I wasn't there, but I feel like campuses were so awesome at that point. Because granted, there's still awesome stuff that's going on campuses now, but at least just like from the modding scene, like I'd heard there was a guy in the dorms who back in the day, if you gave him your original Xbox a service and paid him $50 and provided your own hard drive, he would go in, he'd install a mod chip of some kind. I don't know what he did, but he installed a mod chip of some kind, upgraded the hard drive, and that was a real big deal. So it was like the thing back then, which this was like, the early mid-aughts, I want to say, like the 2000s. But the big thing was when Blockbuster was still booming, the way it was marketed, it was like, yeah, you could just pay this guy $50 and buy your own hard drive for $150, he'll install it for you, and that way you just go down the road to Blockbuster, you rent some games, rip them to your hard drive, you take them back, you have an infinite supply of games at that point.
Dude, that's actually what it was. That's not a joke. And like, Blockbuster back in the day, they had like unlimited monthly rentals.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. You would sit there and like I had one, like literally 5 minutes from campus. So like I would literally drive down the street, walk out with a bunch of DVDs and games, rip everything, and then on we went. It was incredible, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I know with that as well, too, because the original Xbox, had LAN capabilities and such. One thing that just sounded awesome, which I think this is one of the things I really miss on there. A lot of college students didn't pay for Xbox Live because, obviously they're broke college kids. They can't pay for Xbox Live. But a lot of people would take their Xboxes and hook them up to the Ethernet in their dorm rooms, and then you could do LAN all across campus. So a lot of people didn't pay for Xbox Live because they could just LAN constantly.
Oh yeah, so like yes, that's exactly what happened. And then the other thing that was like really big at my school, which I loved, by the way, Counter-Strike 1.5. So there's a little bit of dating happening right there when I say that, but like yeah. Counter-Strike 1.5 on the computer was huge too back in college, and we were just constantly doing exactly like you said, LAN parties on the Xbox and Counter-Strike on the computer, and it was awesome.
That sounds so fun. And if you were hooking up Xboxes directly, you needed to get that crossover cable. Remember that.
That's exactly right.
Yep. Yeah. One thing, because you're saying you did a few Xboxes and then you did mainly GameCubes in college. Yep. That's odd to me in a good way, because I never really, even back in the day, I never really heard of GameCube mods, and granted I was completely out of that scene. I was kind of just looking through the window, so to speak. I had to kind of do my own mods. I didn't know anybody who had a soldering iron, so I was kind of relegated to software related stuff. And then I was lacking the blank DVDs and all that fun stuff you needed. But
oh yeah,
I know PS2 was common, like Xbox, that was obviously like in my area, and then I always knew about modded PlayStations, modded PlayStation 2s, but I really never heard much about the GameCube. So was that real successful locally for you, or what?
So let's call it what it is. Everyone back in the day wanted an Xbox. So Xbox was by far the most common and the most popular. But the reason why I kind of got more into the GameCube is because, well, number one, I really enjoyed the games for the GameCube. And honestly, like, looking back on it, it's like, man, there were still so many games that I missed. But yeah, no, it was good because like what I would do is, a lot of people today are installing the Xeno GC mod chips. And it's funny, back in that day, I didn't have the skills to like do the direct solder method for that. And that was before I was smart enough to figure out like, hey, you could just wire some wires up to it and install it like that, right?
Sure. Still soldering though.
Still soldering, exactly.
Yeah.
But actually what I would install was the Cube Pro, and that would be the mod chip of choice. And like it was fairly easy to install, all things considered. Really the hardest part was getting past the game bits. And after that, it was just like, I think it was like 6 solder points. It was so easy.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
So yeah, no, it was good. And actually, a funny aside story about the Cube Pros. So let's just take a step back maybe for a second. The GameCube scene today is insane. The mods that are available today for the GameCube are nuts. Like, you look at, like, okay, an ODE just got released. I know you know about that.
Yeah, and the GC loader is fantastic.
It's so good. It's so good. And, like, even before that, I mean, there's just so much good stuff coming out. But, this Cube Pro mod chip was like, it is the mod chip to have before, the ODEs came out and all the more recent mods. And it's funny because at the time I had no freaking clue, right? Like, let's be clear. Like, I knew what I was doing, but I don't know what I know now. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Hindsight's always 2020. But yeah, it's so funny because now that is such a desirable mod chip. At one point, get this, I was buying them back in the day in like 2006 timeframe for like, I don't know, $40-$50, right? Mm-hmm. They were going for $150 on eBay just like a year ago.
I believe
that's insane.
You can't find them. They're not made. No companies want to make them because they're like, why would I make something for a console from 2001?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. It's a very desirable chip, and the reason why is because Swiss, which is, for those who don't know, Swiss is basically the front end, right? So if you think of like your Unleash X for Xbox, it's the equivalency of that, and it's where you're able to execute all your ISOs and all of your homebrew and things like that. And the reason why it's so desirable is because you can actually load Swiss onto the Cube Pro and execute it from there. And that was like, it's direct boot. You don't even need a CD drive at that point. So like, very desirable up until obviously the ODE came out.
That is awesome. Because I was going to say, you can pretty much do the same thing with the ODE now. As long as you call that boot.iso, you turn on your GameCube, boom, you're in Swiss.
I agree. Yeah, no, man, that ODE is so nice though. Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it.
I'm not sure how much you've used it. I did. So I kind of wanted to put it through the paces by when I installed my own. I put it all together. I tried it a bit, and then I actually brought it into work for a week. So that thing was on for at least 30 or 40 hours the first week I installed it, and it's working beautifully.
I love it. Yeah, no, it's been really good. I mean, I did kind of like quickly put out a video, and I kind of just like was trying to be clear, hey, these are first impressions because I haven't had a ton of time with it yet, but man, the load times on that thing are so fast. Mm-hmm. So fast. I'm finding it to be about 2 times faster than a standard DVD drive, and give or take about 60% faster than, call it other SD card methods. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, the GC loader is a beautiful piece of tech, and I can say, it was $80 and you have to pay $7-8 for shipping or something like that, at least in the US. If you're that is the way to play GameCube games, in my opinion. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. It's funny because, and I'm sure you get this all the time where people are like, dude, why do I care about that when I could just play on a Wii? And I'm like, you guys.
Or just on an emulator. Why would I care about that when I could play on Dolphin?
Exactly. And I'm like, well, you need a decent computer at least for Dolphin. But like, yeah, I agree. And I'm like, you guys, you need to understand, number one, the GameCube technically has better video out than the Wii, and you actually get a true digital-to-digital experience if you're using some sort of HDMI adapter. That's number one. Number two, you get the Game Boy Advance player. I mean, that's huge. And so, if you add a little bit of homebrew in there with the Game Boy interface, heck, all of a sudden you're looking at basically lag-free, and you can do speedrunning on it. I mean, it's really cool. Yeah. I think... I just laugh because, like I said, people are like, hey, why would I spend $80? And it's like, because it's a really, really good experience and it is worth it.
Mm-hmm. There's also, I feel like there's some people who, and this is fine, there's some people who they just want to play the game however they can. And then there's going to be, other people who, I'm sure you'll admit this, you do a lot of these mods, not just because they're practical, but just because you can and just because they're fun to do.
Oh, let there be no doubt. I mean, let's be honest. I've got, I'm embarrassed to say this in a public forum, but hey, what the hell? I probably have about 30 GameCubes.
Nice.
And I've probably got 8 to 10 Sega Saturns. Like, yeah,
awesome.
I'm doing stuff because I enjoy doing it. And that's honestly, you're right. It's because you can sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Plus, I mean, it's a cool little party pack to have, in my opinion. Kind of turns heads and all that. So it's like I have my Dreamcast little party pack, my GameCube party pack. Whenever people want to come over and play that stuff, or if I want to take it over to someo're the system that I the Orange Spice one that I put the GC loader in,
Yep.
I did use the, what is it? The jewel that you had sent over to me, the one that was
Very
paper,
nice.
the Paper Mario one. That was it. I just had a friend over yesterday. He saw it on my desk and he just touched it. He's like, that is awesome.
Oh yeah,
So
dude,
even just
I
having
love
stuff
it.
like that, it makes people smile.
Absolutely. By the way, you mentioned you took your GameCube to work. Did you bring the controller with you?
Uh, did I? No, I did. I
I
know what you're
wouldn't
talking
either.
about, the customized one. No, it's the reason why that is a real cool controller. I have like one or two coworkers that know about it, but I keep my YouTube stuff on the down low at work, so I
Smart.
didn't want people to be all like, "Oh, why is your face on here?" That's cool. I'm just like, well, have to explain it. I'm like, no. I'm just gonna, even though this is probably my best controller, I'm gonna keep it at home, but also because
You
it's my
should.
best controller.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was gonna say I would not bring that to work either, so I don't blame you.
Yeah. Oh well, bring a GameCube, people will flock to it anyway, so it all works out. People enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, that thing's a lot of fun. I will say, a lot of fun for sure.
For sure. Yeah. So I know we had what is it? We just had, the holidays happened about a month ago. I didn't talk about this on the last podcast because obviously I didn't record when they were going on. But I myself I celebrated Christmas. I kind of kept it low key and all that. But how did your holiday break go?
Oh man, it was fantastic. So I got a nice 2 weeks off from work, which is always appreciated.
Very
But
nice. Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. But more importantly, I've got small kids, right? So I've got two kids that are under 3, and one of them like actually found out like he understood what Santa was for the first time, and oh man, it was such a great experience. I got to be honest. It's like, for whatever it's worth, for you're part of the audience that doesn't have kids, like, man, kids are tough, especially at that age, and like the few times that like something like that happens where they're just so excited and they get it, it's just like, oh my god, this is awesome.
That's so cool. That's really cute too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So no, it was good. Did you get some time off from work too?
I got, the sanction time off, so I think it was the 25th, the 26th. I was actually saving up my time for, like for the next year here because I had done a small vacation. But yeah, I did take that, or no, I took some time off right before Christmas as well too, just because I used that opportunity to visit some family right before Christmas for another thing, and then I was back home here celebrating with some more family for actual Christmas. So I kind of had like two Christmassy type things, I guess.
Very nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Did you play any good games over Christmas break?
Oh my god, yes, I did. Let me I need to get my list and such of what the hell I was playing, but I was kind of just stuck inside at one point and just playing a ton of games. One of the games I decided to start and then I finished actually early this year, and we can talk about it later. Final Fantasy VII. Like, one of my gaming sins that I'll confess to is I have never finished Final Fantasy VII. Like, I love the story, I love the characters, but I never ever finished it, even though it's on every single platform. And I said,
Yep.
you know what? Because this is before the delay. Now it's been delayed by 5 weeks. It's okay.
Yep.
It's okay. But yeah, at that point, it was like, late December. I said, well, the remake's coming out, and I really want to experience this for myself. So let me just see if I could play through it before the remake comes out. And I finished in about 2 or 3 weeks. So that was
Wow.
taking up a lot of my gaming time.
I like it, man. Good for you. Good for you. So, full disclosure, I haven't played through it either, which is disappointing. But it's crazy because like I was sitting there at one point, God, what was it? It was probably like 4 years ago. Because how long is they announced the remake in what was it 2015? They announced it.
I want to say yes. 2015 sounds right.
Isn't that insane that we're
Yeah.
sitting here in 2020 and they announced that 5 years ago?
Now, I'm gonna one up you on that, and I'm not. This isn't like a dick measuring contest or anything. It's just like this is just so mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
They didn't even, because it was announced in 2015. Keep in mind that they teased us so hard, like at the beginning of the the 7th generation of systems. That was it, because they rendered out the intro to Final Fantasy VII on like where it shows Midgar and everything. They rendered that out, and I think they showed it at E3 or Tokyo Game Show, and
Oh my gosh.
it was supposed to be like, hey, this is what Final Fantasy VII would look like on PS3, but it was just a technical demo, and that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so everyone was like, "Oh, Final Fantasy VII's happening," and then all the parties had to come out. They're just like, "No, no, this is a tech demo," and then everyone's mad. Of course, they're like, why would you do that of all things? Like, why would you tease us like that?"
Oh yeah, just terrible. Like one of the most beloved, like, games of all time. And
Yeah,
we're just gonna put that out there.
And then
no
even
big deal.
And then even prior to that, people were asking for it. Like people were asking for a remake or a re-release of some kind on PS2, and that was a whole generation before like remasters were really coming out.
It's crazy. I'm like, I mean, I know it's an audio format, but I'm like shaking my head right now. Like, so yeah, I mean, like I've been putting. So here's the thing, right? So like instead of like doing what you did, which quite frankly is the smart way to do it. Let's be clear. Like I'm sitting here waiting like an idiot. I literally, like, when I heard that, I was like, and then the PS4 Pro came out like shortly thereafter. I think it was like, was it 2017 that came out? I can't remember. But either way, I bought a PS4 Pro because I was like, when that game comes out, I want to experience it in the best way that I can. And I was like, and the PS, I mean, granted, it's gotten other use, so it is what it is. But like, yeah, that was part of the reason. I was like, yep, I'm gonna get that game. I'm gonna play it on this PS4 Pro, and man, I'm gonna experience this for the first time. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed again. But part of me is sitting here and I'm like, I don't know what's going to come out first, or what the delay is going to be longer on. Final Fantasy VII or Metroid Prime 4.
I think Metroid Prime 4. It's definitely because we're not really hearing anything about it. But at this point, like Final Fantasy VII, it is there's evidence it's playable right now because there is a demo that's out, that leaked, that is available, that's complete, that like they won't officially release for whatever reason, and I don't understand that. Like it's all ready to go. Yeah,
I don't either. Put it out there. Let the people have what they want. It's just a taste.
I think the speculation. So regardless, it's not like them not putting out the demo is going to prevent. It's going to lose out on sales and such. Because let's just be honest here. It's Final Fantasy VII. Anything with Final Fantasy VII label, you can put Final Fantasy VII logo on a brick and it's going to sell.
True.
So this is going to sell well regardless. But I feel like having the demo out, even just a few weeks at minimum before the game comes out, would be such it would be such a head turner for so many people who are on the fence, because there's a ton of there's people like me who, look, I'm getting 2 copies of it. I'm getting one for myself, one for my brothers. And then there's a ton of other people as well who are saying like, yeah, I'm not going to pre-order it. I think I'm just going to wait because of this reason or that reason, or I want the complete experience to come out. Or even just a lot of people are saying, I don't know how the hell like the game's going to play. I don't know if I'm going to like it. But having the demo out there, I'm sure will convince a lot more people to pick it up.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, listen, you know how it is. You're going to get a little taste of it, and you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I was thinking I was going to wait for the full experience to come out. No, I'm getting this right now. Or like, hey, maybe I was going to wait for this on PS, 5 or whatever, or, Xbox Scarlet. No. You demo that thing, and you're going to go buy it. It's that simple.
Yeah, especially from what I've seen with the demo as well. There are options to purchase it, like in the menu and even when you complete it. So I know a lot of people, and it says purchase, it doesn't say pre-order. So a lot of people are unfortunately speculating that it's probably just going to release the same day the full game releases. So that way they're just like, hey, since you liked this first hour of the game so much, how about you buy the full game? But I'm like, no, just give it to us early.
I know. Well, it just goes to show you, I mean, like, people are chomping at the bit for this. I mean, like, the amount of, like, press and media and attention that this game is getting is incredible. Mm-hmm. And, like, you already know the game's going to probably deliver. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, just give it to us already,
The thing with it as well, too, which a lot of people have kind of forgotten about, and this just kind of another mind-blowing thing to me with the announcement and such, did you know they have had to remake the remake already?
Oh, yeah. Insane.
Yeah. For anybody that doesn't know, like, when it was initially announced, it was CyberConnect 2 is working on it, which I have no idea why. They pushed development of it out of the Square Enix house. But from what I know, CyberConnect 2 is having a lot of issues with it, and Square Enix was not happy, regardless of what happened. They were checking the milestones. They weren't happy with the progress. They weren't happy with how the game was. So they said, CyberConnect 2, you're canceled. You need to give us all the assets of Final Fantasy VII Remake. We're bringing development in-house. which was great. Everyone cheered that. And then Square said, wow, this is so bad, we actually don't even want to refactor it, so we're going to cancel this version and remake the remake again from scratch. And I don't believe it was completely scratch. I'm sure they could have reused a ton of textures, models, things like that, but
Absolutely.
they really had to rebuild the game again. So it's amazing that we're even getting it in a majorly playable form this generation.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I mean, the hurdle. I mean, here's the real question: how much? I mean, at the end of the day, they're still going to make tons of money off this, I'm sure, and I'm sure at the end of the day, it'll still be a profitable project. But just think how much money they've probably already pissed away on this. It's probably insane.
They've had to piss away a lot, yeah. And the thing is, though, I think Square Enix, and I'm really happy about this, but I think they know they can't screw this up. Like, they really don't have any type of forgiveness on there or anything. It's like, no, it's not that we've been developing it for so long, it's that people have been asking for it for even longer, like longer than any other project we've had. There's been so many rumors out there. We cannot release a half-baked version of it.
I agree, and like let's not forget, like, some of the more recent versions of Final Fantasy, while good, right, have not been nearly as well received. And let's be honest, I don't think Square's made that much money on them in the grand scheme of things because of all the versions they had to release of those.
Yeah, I know a lot of people either love or hate the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy. I know Final Fantasy XIV, the online-only game, it had to get rebooted, essentially, so at first it wasn't even that good, and then it became a lot better. 15, that was actually 13 Versus, which I was really looking forward to. So they said, we're just going to take a game that we canceled and refactor it and rename it 15, which I think is cool, but even so, I never finished 15, but from what I know, the launch of it was kind of subpar. It was okay, and it had to get patched and really get a more definitive version about a year later. But even so, then I remember that there was a lot of controversy because they were kind of gearing everything. They were kind of saying, okay, the complete story and everything, it's going to be in these pieces of DLC. And then they canceled that DLC.
Right. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And then let's not forget they added the DLC on top of DLC on top of DLC. And the only reason I can think that they did that is because, for lack of better words, they lost their ass on it, and they just needed ways to make up money on it.
Yeah. The same thing with, I mean, I'm still happy. Like, this generation's cool. We've gotten these big projects we've been waiting on for so long. Like, this isn't Square Enix, but like The Last Guardian, that was okay to good, I would say. I very much enjoyed it, but it's awesome that we finally got that. In my opinion, it's not nearly as good as, Shadow of the Colossus or Eco, but it's still awesome.
Right.
We got a hold of it. Of course, Final Fantasy Versus 13, we got that in the form of 15. Kingdom Hearts 3, that was another one, but even so, that underdelivered for a lot of people. I just picked up the Remind DLC, and I'm actually disappointed. I'm kind of having to force myself to play it. I'm not really feeling it.
Oh man, that's not great. I was gonna say I haven't played Kingdom Hearts yet, but I do want to. I just haven't got, you know what I mean? It's like it's tough with the RPGs. I mean, it's just like I've got limited time, so I gotta really pick and choose, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I completely agree on that. Yeah, thankfully, like, I really don't have kids right now, so it's all good on mine, but I know you as a father of two, this is where the Switch helps out. I'm sure you've actually had the thing where you're like, I wish everything was on the Switch just so I can stop my game within a second and get back in game within 4.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I will say, like, the Switch for me has been an absolute revelation. Now, my wife will tell you, I think she still has nightmares of me running around in Breath of the Wild and just hearing the from running around in the rain and stuff like that. But it's funny, like, the amount of gaming I do in bed is astronomical. I mean, it's like that's my time where I can be like, you know what? I'm alone. My wife's already asleep. My kids are asleep, and I finally have a few minutes to myself. And you're right. The Switch has been an absolute revelation. That's where I do my gaming.
That's awesome. That's real cool. And yeah, better than I don't know, at least in my opinion, better than having a TV posted up in your room.
I agree. So, like, get this, like, we have a TV in our room. We don't even use it. It's like, I don't even know why it's there.
Yeah, I think in my previous place I lived, I had a TV in my room because that was like the only other place I could put this extra TV. Now I have it like in a living room, but even so, like, I've had people recommend, they're like, oh yeah, you can get another TV put in your bedroom. I'm like, I'm not going to use it. Like, I really don't want to use it. If we put it there, it's just going to collect dust. Like, if there's a screen I want to look at, it's either going to be my Switch or my phone, or I guess my Vita if I'm playing that. But it's going to be something I can hold in my hands.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's an interesting point. Has the cell phone rendered the bedroom TV irrelevant? I think the answer is yes.
In my opinion, I think it has. Yeah, I mean, there are still people who will like fall asleep to the TV, which I could never understand that. Like, no, I can't do that. That sounds awful, falling asleep to a TV.
No, like, I get a fan, like that makes sense to me, but
Sure.
like a TV, come on, what are you doing? You're gonna wake up to Billy Mays? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm like, I really don't want to be doing that. So no, I think I did, like, if there was like a show that I was really invested in, I would do that. But even so, I forgot so much of the show because, I'm watching it as I'm half asleep.
Exactly. Speaking of shows, did you by chance happen to catch The Witcher on Netflix?
I watched the first episode of it, and I'll be honest, like, I'm not saying it's bad, it wasn't my thing. I guess I'm not super into the whole fantasy thing.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I was gonna say I really enjoyed it, but I will say the acting in the first episode kind of bothered me. I didn't think it was that great, and then it got better as it went on.
That's good to know, because I also thought it was kind of rough.
It was rough. It was really
but
rough.
I didn't really want to judge it, because I'm like, it's the first episode, and then, like, I guess it's just, like, for me, I kind of just have to face that, because I've seen and attempted to watch several, like, fantasy type shows, and I respect them. I think they're cool, but it's just not for me, I guess, for regular watching.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And like, yeah, for me, it was like, I need to binge this right now because, there's so many like small details and things like that happening. I was like, I basically watched it in 2 days because I was like, I just need to get this done.
I got you.
So I remember what happens.
I got you. Yeah, that's actually been an issue for me with, mainly with games. It's like, I really have to kind of get back in the swing of things and such if I'm like, let's say, like 10 hours into a game and then I completely stop. Like, I had to do that with Astral Chain recently, and I have even some kind of thresholds where, like, Astral Chain's like, all right, I'm 10 hours in here, yeah, it's kind of rough getting the ball rolling again, but okay, let's go ahead and do this. With the Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC, I had no idea that's pretty much at the very end of the game, so it's really annoying because they give you like 20 minutes of cutscenes, and then so far it feels like the first, because it's kind of just boss rush, the DLC, and the first boss is the hardest one, and I even just without, because I will acknowledge I'm rusty, but then when I beat that boss finally, and then I start going through the other ones, I'm like, what the hell? All the other bosses are like cakewalks at this point. Like, they intentionally put, like, it feels like the hardest boss at the very beginning of the DLC.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, so I'm like, wow, this is just like a real slap in the face.
Oh yeah, did you finish Astral Chain by chance?
No, I'm halfway through it right now. It's really good, but I stopped playing it because I was just playing other stuff.
So exact same thing happened to me, and like, I was playing it, I got about halfway through. I really enjoyed it. That's like the sad part. I was really enjoying it, but then once Link's Awakening came out, I was like, well, need to put that down and play that. You know what I mean? And then Luigi's Mansion, and then all the other games that came out, and I was like, all right. But I need to get back into it.
See, my thing for me is I will kind of have other like issues with just like picking up games and juggling games and all that, because there were I'm even just like looking through kind of a list of some of the stuff I had played. So I've been getting, like, last year I got into visual novels, so I've been playing more of those, and like, maybe I don't know, maybe it's just because you don't forget your first, but the first visual novel I ever played was Deathmark, which I absolutely loved, and then I wanted to play through it again. That was one of those things, I wanted to get, the good ending on there, and then I found out there was a sequel, so I, like, all of a sudden I kind of just stopped everything. I pushed myself to, get the good ending in Deathmark, and then I was playing through the sequel, and then I was putting other stuff off, and then I was kind of in the middle of a few other games, but recently, it was actually this month, I said, you know what? I feel like playing Night in the Woods. I really want to play that again. So just within a week, I played through Night in the Woods, and I very much enjoyed that. So I kind of just, it's this bit of a thing between, I should play this other stuff like Astral Chain. I really should work through that. But do I want to play Astral Chain while thinking about this other game? Or should I just play this other game that I really have in the front of my head right now?
I'm telling you, it's like the constant struggle. It really is. And don't forget the whole entire retro library that you probably have sitting there on your shelf too.
Yep, that too. I did crack into it. Well, it was remastered, but it's kind of retro because it was PS2. I don't know, like this past week, all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I have a PS3 sitting right there, and I feel like playing Eco. So I just installed it on there and played through about an hour of it, and I was like, this is awesome. That's another game. Unfortunately, like, I've finished Shadow of the Colossus, not the remake, but I finished Shadow of the Colossus. I finished Last Guardian multiple times. even though I love Eco and that was my first one, still have not finished that. So because I had this thing as I was playing it, all these memories started flooding back, and I had this problem as a kid where I would play through a game for like 2 or 3 hours, and I beat games, mind you, as a kid, but there were so many games I would get a few hours in and I was like, that was really cool. I'm going to delete my save and restart because I want to experience it again. So like Grand Theft Auto 3, for example, my all-time favorite game, I've beat it multiple times now, of course, but as a kid, it took me so long to get past Portland, the first island, not just because it was difficult for me and there was a learning curve, but also just because I loved those first missions.
Oh yeah, I mean, well that's the beauty of it, right? It's like, man, you can go back to it at any point and enjoy it. It's so nice. Mm-hmm. I will say, like, there's nothing wrong with starting it over. I mean, I do it with plenty of games. I mean, most of them are on 16-bit hardware, but like, yeah, I really enjoy, like, for example, some of the early levels in, like, you know, DuckTales, for example. Like, that's like one of my all-time favorites to go back to and play that over. Or even, like, you know, I don't know, like, you know, a lot of the Mario games, like, I love going back to Super Mario World.
Sure.
And just playing the first, like, you know, whatever, the Donut Plains levels and the Yoshi Island levels, like, love it. It's just so much fun. And it's like every time, you know, it's like like you said, you had the memories flooding back. I mean, that's the name of the game, right? I think that's why we all enjoy our retro stuff.
Yeah, I would certainly say that. Yeah, and then the funny thing is too, sometimes you just have to restart because, like, so even that was my threshold. I was gonna say, I think my limit is now, if I'm like 1 hour into a game. So if I've played a game for 30 minutes or an hour, and then I drop it for like 5 months and come back to it, I'll generally restart it because I'm like, I should really reacquaint myself, you know, with the tutorial and all that, unless I know what the hell to do. With other games, if I'm like 10 hours in, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to power through it. It doesn't matter. I'm not redoing these 10 hours.
Absolutely.
But with a lot of those older games, I mean, games now will hold your hand, obviously, and tell you everything, and you'll have all these objectives. But, like, for example, like Ocarina of Time, one thing that blew my mind, I played through Breath of the Wild, absolutely loved it, and people were like, oh no, this game is punishing, it doesn't hold your hand. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was playing Ocarina of Time just a few years ago, and it doesn't give you, like, Breath of the Wild, you open up, there's a map, there's objectives, there's missions, there's all that stuff. Yes. You don't have any of that in Ocarina of Time.
No, there was nothing like that. Yeah. Nothing like that. I mean, I remember playing that when it first came out. I didn't have a tutorial. There was no online, like...
No,
there was, but, you know...
I mean, you kind of just figure everything out in the Kokiri Forest, and then, you know, you kill the giant tree there, and then that's it. They say, that's it. You go out into the world, and you have to kind of just... I mean, you truly progress through the game either by knowing what to do or reading a guide or just exploring and figuring it out. And it just kind of blows my mind because there's so many people who there's like, oh yeah, I was a kid and I beat this game so many times. And then when they say that Breath of the Wild doesn't hold your hand, I'm like, what the hell? No, that's the exact opposite. Like, Breath of the Wild really holds your hand and puts everything out in front of you. Ocarina of Time, it's amazing you beat that as a child.
It really is. It really is. I mean, and by the way, to hell with that water temple still to this day. Oh, yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I thought Breath of the Wild did a really nice job of helping you progress, helping you get, like, better as you went through. And I mean, the flow of the game was so good. Mm-hmm. That was such a great game. I think I had 200 hours into that game. I mean, it was ridiculous.
I didn't have nearly that much there, but I think what really appealed to me on it was, I mean, just first of all, like, I absolutely loved the art style, and I guess
so good.
The best way I was describing to people, I said it felt like I was walking through, like, a Miyazaki film at times. But then even so, it's just like, I think maybe one of my favorite memories from there is, you know, I was walking through the countryside and such, and it felt like the beginning of Spirited Away, where, you know, Chihiro and her parents, they end up finding, you know, that old what is it, that old amusement place, and they're walking through and it's all abandoned. Got the exact same vibes right there. And then because I love urban exploration, exploring abandoned buildings and all that, that was just hitting me in all the right points. And then they reward you for doing all that. Or sometimes you turn a corner and you get your ass completely beat because you're not supposed to be there.
Exactly. You run into your first Lionel and you just get punished.
Yeah, I'm like, oh no, that's also another unforgettable experience.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny. I remember, like, I mean, I bought Switch, you know, day one, got in line at midnight at GameStop, went and bought it, came home. I played an hour of Breath of the Wild, called my brother, like, immediately, and I was like, and you know, we live in the Chicago area, I'm out in the suburbs, and he's in the city proper, and I was like, dude, you need to get out here to my house tomorrow and we need to play this for like several hours. I go, you will not believe how good this is. And sure enough, it was exactly like you said. The art direction was so good, and we were sitting there and we were playing it, and he bought a Switch, like, he couldn't buy it the next day because they were sold out. Literally though, within like that month, he had a Switch, he had Breath of the Wild, and he was playing through it too, because it's just so captivating and it just sucks you in so much. It's so good.
One thing I want to ask, what was your reaction, your brother's reaction, like when you start the game at the beginning and you're getting everything set up in the cave, and then when you walk out and the camera does the whole big pan out and then it shows Zelda Breath of the Wild like on the cliff, like what were your guys' reaction to that?
Oh man, I mean, I just remember I was like, my God, does this look good? Like that was, I was just sitting there and I was like, for a cell shaded like art style, I guess you'd say, like, I don't even know really what would you call that art style? Cell shaded, probably, I guess.
Kinda, yeah.
Ish, yeah. I don't know. I just remember looking at it and I was like, oh my God, this looks so good. I mean, I was sitting there playing it on a 1080p TV, 55-inch, and it's like 5 feet from my face, and I was like, God, this looks so good.
Yeah, no, and the reason why I asked that specifically is because I was really like that specific scene, and I know they were putting that in to flex how the game was going to look in the Switch and such, and just be like, wow, this is on mobile hardware. But
I know.
When I played through it, I loved it. The first time I saw that scene, my girlfriend was on the couch with me, and I remember, she was just kind of sitting there on her phone looking at things. After 5 minutes of starting the game, I got out there, the camera pans out, and she just kind of looks over and goes, wow. Like, she said that out loud, and then I had one of my best friends come over, and we always do this thing where he's kind of out of the gaming loop until he visits me again, and I'm like, oh, hey, here's the new systems, here's all these games I got. He's like, okay, what should I play? Try this, now try this, now try this. And he wanted to try the Switch, so I fired up Breath of the Wild for him. Exact same thing, 5 minutes in, he gets out of the cave, he sees that, and he just exclaims with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's so impressive. It really is. I mean, to your point with the mobile chipset and all that, I mean, the stuff they're doing on the Switch is awesome. I mean, it's absolutely awesome. Did you play Luigi's Mansion by chance?
That's another one. I own it. I picked up, I played maybe about 30 minutes of it, and then I just stopped because I was playing other stuff. But that is one, like, I even restarted it again. I was like, that was one of those, I was on vacation. I said, I'm going to play through Luigi's Mansion. And in about 30 minutes, I was like, I feel like playing through Night in the Woods right now. So then I went back to Night in the Woods.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say though, but like the graphics and maybe graphics isn't the right way to say it, but just the way the game looks is so. Like, I can't believe that game is on mobile hardware. Yeah, like I can't believe it. It looks so good.
Well, it's especially with the art style that's used on there too. How Nintendo's not trying to go realistic, graphics. So many times do not age well. Like, I could even say, like, for example, you take what was realistic on the PS2, and we all remember it looking amazing, and now it looks awful. PS3, we're like, wow, this is mind-blowing, now it looks awful. By the time PS6 comes out, we're probably going to say that games like Uncharted 4, it's like, oh, wow, they're really trying to go realistic. It's But then you play all these games, like you go back to the GameCube, you're going to play like Mario Kart, Mario Party, and then you even see the same things here, and it's just, it's the Pixar style, I want to say, where they're doing that like 3D modeling and such, and it will always look good, and it will always look nice.
I agree, and quite frankly, that's an awesome way to describe it. I mean, it really is that Pixar style. I mean, I just watched Toy Story again because, the kids, and like, that still looks great to this day. The original one, it came out in the 1990s. Like, this is insane.
Yeah, I remember when Toy Story 3 came out, I decided to, rewatch all of them, and I was like, wow, these still look fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think there's something to be said about that, and I think that's a really good point, and I think that's probably why, if I had to guess, like, for Nintendo at least, whenever they decide to come out with, upgraded Switch hardware, which, rumor has it that might be this year, I think they're going to have an opportunity to upscale those games, make them look even better, and to your point, because they didn't go for a realistic look, they have the ability to survive the test of time.
Yeah, and then you'll have games like, The Witcher 3, don't get me wrong, the downgrades and squeezing it down made it really impressive it's impressive it's running on the Switch, but that game is not going to age well at all.
No, I agree.
We are going to look, like 10 years later, we are going to look back at it and be like, this is incredibly impressive, but like, god damn, this is bad looking.
I couldn't agree more. So like, I made that mistake with Doom, right? I bought that on the Switch. I played it, and I was like, there's just too many compromises. Like, don't get me wrong, it's impressive, like you said, and it was fun. Like I still had a great time, but you're looking at half the frame rate, plus like the drawing's really bad. Like I'm just like, it just makes the experience isn't the same. Is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and that's one of the impressive and bad ones all at the same time, because it's impressive they were able to squeeze it down. But the thing I had with it, so I have Doom, and I've played I played through it on Xbox One, but I played through a little bit of it on Switch, and it's better than Wolfenstein 2. But yes. Wolfenstein 2, I haven't played on any other. I didn't play it on PC, didn't play it on any other hardware. Decided to pick it up on Switch. Dude, I got about halfway through. I had to stop playing it because I'm like, don't get me wrong, it's impressive it's running on here, but it has so many downgrades. The field of view is so small. The game just plays kind of janky. The visuals, everything, I mean, it's so downgraded that it is ruining my enjoyment of it.
That's exactly right.
Very much one of those things. If people ask me, there's like, oh, so you didn't like Wolfenstein 2 because the graphics were bad? I'm like, yeah, that was actually a major reason why I could not finish it on Switch.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, like I said, I stopped playing Doom and I went and got the PS4 version. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's literally what I did.
Yeah. And it's funny because I make that exception for Witcher 3 because I played it a bit like on a monitor and on a TV, and yeah, it really doesn't look the best, but I really enjoyed just sitting back and playing Witcher 3 in bed. That game works super, and it might just be this thing where those third-person type games, where you're traversing the landscape and it's a big RPG, they might just work super well for me to lay back and play in bed in portable mode. But a first-person shooter is really not going to do that for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you're right. I think it's first-person shooter. I think first-person shooter on the Switch so far, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know that there really is like one that you're like, yep, that's a standout title.
Yeah, because
I can't think of it.
We have Wolfenstein 2, we have Wolfenstein something Blood, I don't know, and then we have Doom, and I can't really think of any other standout first-person shooters.
No, I think Payday, but I don't think I wouldn't call that a standout.
Do not trust those games on consoles.
No.
Yeah, the company has been notorious for poorly supporting those on consoles.
Yeah, I know people are still pretty upset about that to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fun games, don't get me wrong, but really, and not trying to be a snob here, but I'm like, no, if you're going to play Payday 2, you got to play it on PC. That's where the DLC is, that's where the updates is, that's where the support is. It's even just on the 360 when they were releasing them. I didn't play them on PS3, but on 360, it's like, yeah, we're just going to get out like a base version just to put it out and get it just to the point where it's working, and maybe give you a few updates and then just stop. They just ghost on you.
Oh yeah, that's unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate.
It really is, sadly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Oh well. I did have I did kind of have a random story I wanted to share on here, but when I was visiting some of my family out of state, it's funny because I was with my brothers there, and my brothers, they're younger than me, and I talked about like some of the presents I got them last episode and such, but and for anybody that doesn't know, and I think I told you about what I was getting them, right?
You did, yeah.
Yeah, but for anybody that doesn't know, I got one of them a Switch because I got the Switch originally for both of them, and then because they mostly play it portable, it kind of turned into the older brother's Switch. So I said, hey, younger brother, you get your own. And then I got them a PS4 Pro, which I was like, hey, this is kind of for, older brother because younger brother got something, but y'all have to share this one. Yeah.
At least it can't go portable on the PS4 Pro.
That is true. You cannot go portable on that.
Dude, that's a pretty sweet gift.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I know they very much enjoyed them, so they've been super happy with them. They've been using them, but it was funny because I was overhearing this. They're kind of now, it's getting to the point, they're understanding the context of the world and how certain situations will happen and play through and all that, where it's like, sometimes you just don't know you're messing up until you do. But in a lighter sense, this ended up happening. So one of them, the older one, he's a FIFA fanatic, just plays FIFA on the Xbox One all the time. Previously, he was playing it on the Switch all the time, but he got FIFA 20 on the Xbox One, thanks to me. And
nice.
He was playing through it, and Mom was kind of going off on him like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do something, like get off the game. And he's like, Mom, no, I can't turn it off. And she's like, what? Excuse me, what are you talking about? He's like, he has this conversation, I'm sure like everyone here who's had parents and games exist at the same time had. But he's like, no, Mom, I literally cannot turn the game off right now. And I just hear, I'm downstairs, I just hear, oh, you can't turn it off? That's fine. I get turned off. And I hear a few footsteps, and he's like, no, Mom, no, I can't turn it off. I can't save at this point. And she's like, she kind of gives him the stern, like, 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes. That's it.
But I love it.
Yeah, and from what I know, I've never played a FIFA game, but from what I know, you can't just save willy-nilly. You can only save at certain parts, and then saving will take minutes at times just because there's so much data that has to be dumped out. But yeah, no, I just heard that, and I was just laughing so hard as I was hearing it. And I was talking with my parents about it afterwards, and they kind of reiterated that. They're just like, yeah, no, he was trying to say he literally can't turn it off. It's like, oh, that's fine. I can turn it off for you. There's nothing wrong with me pressing the button.
Watch how it works. Look, no problem.
Exactly. Yeah, and
I love it.
Actually, that's been an issue before, because apparently, like years ago when they were really into Minecraft, at one point my parents shut off the Xbox, just like, you got to get off it. We can't right now. We can't. It's like, oh, okay, yes, you can. Turned off, and just caused a huge big outcry because they had developed their world for like I don't know, like an hour or two, and then all that progress is gone. So my parents have that understanding, at least, where it's like, okay, we need to let you get to a save point.
That's nice. That's nice. So like, oh my gosh. Well, it's funny, I hate to say it, but it's like, man, I remember that happening to me all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Oh man. And you know what the worst part is?
What?
I let my like 2.5-year-old play with me sometimes, right? Like we've been playing Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker.
Oh, that's a good one.
It is. It's perfect for him too. And like, and mind you, like, because people are gonna freak out when I said that, but like, we play for 15, 20 minutes at a time max. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And he doesn't play. He sits there and holds a controller. It's super cute. But anyway.
Yeah. I've done that with young family members. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so anyway, I was like, hey, we need to turn this off. And I was like, we need to go upstairs and eat dinner. And I turned it off without giving him ample time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Full on meltdown.
It's always funny hearing that. I know one of my it's interesting to me because one of my my all-time favorite musical act, Tool, the lead singer Maynard, he was on, I think, the Joe Rogan podcast, and it's just so funny to hear him like talk about childhood and stuff, because you listen to like their music and it's so insightful and all these super advanced things and all that, and then all of a sudden you hear about him just being a human. And he was mentioning that with his kid, where he was like, yeah, kids are really addicted to their iPads and all that. And, I'm trying to tell my kid, okay, yeah, the iPad time is good, but we need to put it down. We need to go upstairs. We need to eat dinner like a family. And he said, yeah, it's just at that point in time, nuclear meltdown. It is the worst thing that has ever happened in that kid's life. And then 5 minutes later, everything's fine.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly right, though. It's so funny. It literally is the worst thing that has happened to that kid all day. And you just, I don't even know how to compare it. You just took something from him, and he's not happy. Not happy.
Exactly.
No, that's awesome. I do always enjoy, like, whether it be on a talk show, like, Joe Rogan or, whatever, when you have like these people, like, whatever, celebrities and whatnot, or musicians, and like you hear like, oh, they have real life problems like I have. I enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real cool, because even I know like Maynard, he's been on that show, I want to say 2 or 3 times, and it's interesting because I've gone back and listened, and like I mean, that's not to say like they're bad, but like the very first episode, you can, because Maynard really he stays pretty private. He doesn't really do interviews or anything, so you can tell there's like a sense of rigidness and everything. And then over the course of 2 hours, he lets loose a little bit, and then by the time, like, compare like the first episode he's on to the third episode, and it's so interesting getting to hear him just have a conversation with an old friend.
Yeah. No, that's so true. It's that's absolutely the case. I mean, I think you've been doing a lot of these podcasts. I'm sure you've run into that plenty of times throughout talking to people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why like many people will like to listen to podcasts where they have, a specific guest on, just because even if it's not, because I never, when I have you on, when I have any other guest, I never want it to be an interview. I just want it, like, I am going to ask you questions, but it's questions, I'm particularly interested in, or I think they might have some good stories behind them. But I always tell people, because there's been so many people who've been kind of nervous to come on, I'm like, listen, I'm going to hit record in the background. This is just going to be a conversation you and I are having for a few hours. Don't think of it like an interview or anything intense. This is just a conversation we're having.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like it. I like it. So, if you don't mind me asking, because of course I watch your YouTube channel, what do you got anything interesting coming up?
I do have several things, yeah, and I try and I try
Don't reveal
not,
too much.
You know,
Don't reveal
yeah,
too much.
I try not to reveal too much just because I've done that in the past where I'm like, oh, that'd be a good idea, or I already have this, or what have you. And then, like, for me, sometimes I can make a video and put it out within, you know, a few hours. Other times I will record that video and everything, and, you know, it will just sit on my hard drive for months or a year or something like that. But no, some of the stuff I am planning on, of course, like, this is probably something you want me to bring up. I do want to cover some ODE related videos.
Absolutely.
So I know the GC loader, I'm definitely going to be covering that. I've definitely teased it and everything. I have all the footage. I just need to, you know, edit it together and all that fun stuff. One thing I did, which I'm probably going to get this cut up and I'll put it out here pretty soon. Never opened up an Xbox One X, but one of my friends, so get this, one of my friends bricked 2 Xbox One X consoles with a bad external drive.
Are you serious?
I am dead
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't know either. But get this, like the story he told me. So he, and it's funny because his name's Sean, one of my best friends. He's been in several videos. He's been on the channel here. He's been on this podcast. But he was actually in the video with me where him and I went and we picked up our original VCR Xbox Ones together.
That's awesome.
Like that video where we picked it up and all that, he's in that video. And then I went over to his house when the day he got the One X, because he got it on day one. I did not. And his day one system I'll save this to the end, I guess, like to the end of this point. But one day he called me up and he's like, hey dude, I just had a question. I think my Xbox One broke. I'm like, what's going on? And he said, well, you see, like, I was playing on it, and it was pretty slow, which that's normal. It was super slow in the menus. And I'm like, no,
Oh, yeah.
I have a 1X. That's not normal. What are you talking about? He's like, nah, my 1X is super slow. Anyways, I went to turn it off. It took like 5 minutes to turn off. And then I went to turn it back on, and there's nothing happening. It's just like no signal on my monitor. And and I was asking, I was like, do you hear any clicking? No. What's going on? I don't know. And he mentioned something with an external drive. And I'm just like, okay, it kind of sounds like, to me, especially with the slowdown, it sounds like your internal drive just died on you. So we could fix that pretty easily. But then he was saying, well, you know, I'm thinking of just getting another Xbox One X because I want to play today because I have today off. And I just want to play on my Xbox One. And I said, okay, well, do you have your original Xbox One? He said, no, that's back at my parents'. Okay, you can borrow my original Xbox One, my VCR model, like it's just sitting in my basement. And he's like, no, I want to play on the One X. I'm like, okay, I got you. Well, I guess we could try and fix yours. He's like, we could do that later, but can you find me a deal on a One X? And this is this month. So I was just like, dude, there were so many $300 One X deals, and you missed out on all of them. Like, you just missed them. Yeah. And he was super disappointed. So I said, the cheapest one I can find you, either $450 for a brand new one or $350 for a used one. And he was like, okay, you know what? I don't want a used one, but I don't want to pay $450. So I guess I'm just going to go to GameStop and pick up a used one.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Yeah. So he goes to GameStop, picks up a used Xbox One X, brings it back home, sets it up, gets his account on there, all the other fun stuff. Takes a few hours, but he's all good. So I didn't have this fully detailed until now, so I'm giving all the detail now. But then he took that same external drive, he hooks it up. Everything seemed to be fine, right? He hooks it up to the Xbox One X, the second one he bought, and all of a sudden it starts saying like error and cannot load game, and he's getting all these errors, and he's like, what the hell is happening? So somehow his Xbox One turns off. He turns it back on. It boots him to the recovery mode screen.
Oh my good God.
Yeah. So then he looked up what to do. And it said that you had to, you have to do the emergency offline update. And you need to get a flash drive, like an 8 gig flash drive. He's not like me, so he doesn't have flash drives sitting all over the place. So he had to go out to Walmart, get a flash drive, come back, download the 6 gig update on his computer, extract it to the flash drive, and then try and load it on there. And get this, he tried to load it on there like 3 or 4 times, and it would not successfully update his system.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, which I did not know that detail. I just thought he didn't trust the system, but no, it would download the update, so it would copy it from the flash drive internally, and then it would verify it, and it would get halfway through updating, and then it would just boot loop and tell him, hey, you need to service your Xbox.
Oh, that's so brutal.
Yeah.
So brutal.
Yep.
Did he have the Scorpio version too? Because you said he had like the original. So he
The
probably
first
had,
one,
like,
yeah, the first one he got was a Project Scorpio edition.
Oh, that's so bad to have to get rid of that thing.
Yeah. He still had it, thankfully. I told him not to get rid of it, but he just wanted to get back up and running. So then what happened was, he determined, hey, the external did some weird stuff on my first system. The external bricked my second system, so I'm not going to touch this thing anymore. And I told him stop using it, but he had called me up, and because I thought I misunderstood. I thought that he just didn't trust the second system, but it was actually bricked. So he was like, "No, I'm just gonna go to GameStop and get another one." So
Oh my God.
he goes to GameStop. A few hours later, returns that system, got another one, sets it up. Did not, to this day, has not hooked up that external to it, and it's been working beautifully, thankfully.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that. Could you, like, that's the worst thing. Could you imagine? It's like, it's been a really long work week. You got a day off. All you want to do is play some video games. We've all been there.
Yeah.
And you can't even do it.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. Now this is the detail I was going to divulge here, but guess when this happened?
Tell me.
January 1st.
Oh.
That was how he ushered in the new year. He spent 9 hours troubleshooting Xbox issues.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, and he had his first Xbox pretty much completely toast, second Xbox bricked, third one at that point I don't even think he felt like playing video games once he got the third one set up.
Yeah, at that point you're just like, I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, but he told me it took like 9 hours to go from bricking the first Xbox One to finally get a third one up and running to the point where he could use it.
Oh, that's so brutal.
Yeah.
So brutal.
Yeah, and just because like we're close enough, like in distance, but far enough where it's not like he's like a neighbor or anything, like a hop and a skip away. But I was telling him, it's like, dude, if you were here, like if you were like my next door neighbor or something, we would have this shit figured out within 2 hours.
Absolutely. He'd probably let's be honest, he'd just be over in your basement playing your Xbox One X at that point.
Exactly, yeah, which I'd be like, sure, yeah, you can do that. But yeah, the cool thing is, so I do have this video recorded. We actually revived his original Xbox One X.
Very nice.
Yeah, I told him, hey, hold on to this. And I said, all right, this is either going to be something I can or can't fix. I'm hoping, I said, I'm really crossing my fingers hoping it's the hard drive. If it's not the hard drive, we're going to have to do a component level repair, which I'm not going to do. Because at that point, it's either like the HDMI port is bad or the HDMI encoder chip has gone bad. But I said, with the way and the funny thing is, the funny and awful thing is, and this is one of the reasons why I hate the Xbox One, there's no error code that will just come out and be like, hey, this error code means your hard drive is toast. It was just acting like, yeah, you hook it up, you turn on the system, nothing comes out of HDMI. Absolutely nothing comes out of there. So you're probably going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, the HDMI port is bad or the encoder chip is bad. It's like, like the only reason why I suspected hard drive is because I knew of the background with the system. But point being, we went out, we bought a SSD, we set it up, I popped it in, and in this video, I hope whenever it comes out, people can appreciate like just because we just like yell and start like cheering and all that essentially. Turn the system on, I hook it up to my Elgato, and all of a sudden I get an error code displaying. I'm like, dude, it's displaying. Like it's actually displaying something. This is progress.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. We did something. It's doing something.
Exactly.
That's hilarious. There's no error codes. I don't own an Xbox One, so I actually didn't even know. I had no idea.
Yeah, there are error codes. Like for example, like his the second one that he ended up bricking, that was giving him error codes and such. But this first one, the hard drive was so borked on there. But like even so, I would think that there'd be and it would at least boot up, and there would be an error code that would display, and you could reference that, like let's say E115, and then you reference the E115 error code with a list someone's maintained online, and it shows, oh yeah, there's corruption on the hard drive. But if the hard drive is toast, like on here, it just, and I haven't tried. He gave me that hard drive. I haven't hooked it up. I'm just gonna get it recycled somewhere.
Smart.
Yeah. But apparently, at least in our stance, when that hard drive was completely toast on the system, nothing displays out there. You can turn it on, nothing displays, nothing comes out, no audio, no video comes out, not even like a black screen or anything, nothing.
Oh my god, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's why if I like, I'm sure if like I gave you the Xbox One X and I told you to fix it, you'd probably think, oh yeah, bad hardware encoder or something.
Well, and let's be frank, the One X has a lot of trouble with HDMI ports. Not only the port itself, but also, like you said, the encoder that sits behind it. And a lot of people, I mean, that's the issue they're running into with that console.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and even is it Tektronics or Tech? There's one guy, Tronics Fix, that's him on
Yes.
YouTube.
Yes.
I looked it up. And he had the video where he picked up an Xbox One. He said, yep, this is an Xbox One. You turn it on, you turn it off. But when you turn it on, it displays no output. Let's try and replace the video encoder. So he replaces the video encoder chip, and then it works. So a lot of people would just look at that and be like, oh, okay, I have to send the software component level repair, not knowing that a very real possibility could be the hard drive is bad.
It's crazy. That is absolutely insane to me. Like the fact that that's not built into. Well, I guess if to your point, if the encoder's busted, you couldn't see an output anyway. But yeah, I mean that's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. No, I'm happy we finally got it back up and running. But yeah, no, and I tried, and I when we were putting it back together, I did the thing where I put it partially back together, turned off, turned it back on, and then see, and it was still working and all that. So it was running beautifully, thank goodness. But I mean, the other thing I just really don't like about it, and this is something I had wanted on the Xbox, like the original Xbox, because you've modded them before and such, like
Absolutely.
the hard drive is locked to the system and it's locked to a key, and if that hard drive is toast and you don't know how to mod, you're done. But the 360, you can actually use it without a hard drive on there, and you can swap out the hard drive and upgrade it. And I had asked last generation, I said, like in a video I was talking about what I want from the next gen Xbox, and I think it's still up on the channel, I had said the next Xbox, the hard drive needs to be removable. The internal hard drive, it needs to be like the PS3 and now the PS4. And it's really annoying that it's not like that. You have to rip apart the whole system to get to the hard drive. You're going to void your warranty. And then even so, it's easy enough to, reconfigure and rebuild a hard drive. But the only reason why we could even do that is because the homebrew community, shout out to one guy, XFix mainly, the homebrew community has created solutions and scripts to build all of that.
Right. Which is sad that it had to come to that level. It's sad when you have to have the community come in and sit there and create something because, a manufacturer won't. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I guess, in the grand scheme of things, it's breeded tons of innovation in the homebrew community, which is a great thing.
For sure. Yeah, but it's not like the PS3 and the PS4. It's like PS3, sometimes you don't even need a firmware file when you replace the hard drive. But the PS4, like, that's the most complex one where it's... And granted, transferring data is super annoying on there. But if you're just swapping out the hard drive itself, the internal, you just, you take off the casing, you remove the hard drive, you put in your new drive, you pop it in, and then you pop in a flash drive with your recovery update on there, and after like 5 minutes, you're up and running.
Yeah, super nice.
Yeah.
Super nice.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's why I will say, so you mentioned earlier you've got like your ODE month coming up.
We've talked about that. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a whole ODE month. I think I'm probably gonna sprinkle in the ODE stuff throughout the months. But yeah, there are a lot of ODE devices I want to cover.
I agree. So like, have you just out of curiosity tried the any of the Saturn ODEs?
No, because they're expensive.
They really are. So I finally managed to get my hands on one.
Nice. Which one?
Legitimately, I got the Phoebe.
Okay.
And so I've been messing around with it a little bit, and oh man, it's so nice.
Yeah, I think there's pretty much going to be 3 coming out here, like 3 on the market, where there'll be the Phoebe, obviously, the one that's super hard to get. And then I think the Fenrir is going to be, that's one that just came out of nowhere, and that's real cool.
Really
but that
is.
seems like it's going to be easy to build and real affordable and such. And then, of course, I don't know the name of it, but then there's Dr. Abrasive's solution where it utilizes the video CD port.
I agree. So I'm interested in all 3 of those, and I mean, clearly I've already got the Phoebe, which is fantastic, but I am interested in the one that goes into the Dr. Abrasives, that goes into the VCD port, simply because, like, I don't know. So like, I really like the Saturn, and I've got so I ripped all my games yesterday. That's literally what I did all day.
Awesome.
And I'm like looking at this, and I'm like, man, I have a legit Saturn collection, like straight legit, and I'm like, I want to be able to play these still, like, in the system. You know what I'm saying? In the disc tray. And now that I have an ODE, it's like, and mind you, earlier I said I had 7 Saturns, so like, hey, this is first world problems here, but like,
Yeah.
whatever. So I'm like, this would be great to be able to have like everything. You know what I'm saying? I want it all.
Yeah, no, and that's where Doctor Abrasives would come in. That's those are my favorite type of solutions. Like for the 360, the X key where you can do both from the disk drive and the and a USB drive. The SIO for the PlayStation 1, even though it still has a lot of work to, really make it shine, I do like where if you want a fully loaded PS1, you can install a SIO and then you can install a mod chip. So that way, whenever you feel nostalgic and want to play a disc, whether it's a region-specific one or an import one or a burn disc, or if you're just, having issues loading from the SIO, you can just, boot it off the disc. But you also have the SIO for transferring all your games, which I'll say, like, that's been real nice too. Like, I love the PS1, the actual original PS1 hardware. And
Yes.
there's been many games where I'm like, I feel like playing this right now, and it's like I already have it ripped onto my computer, so I take the SD card out, pop it in my computer, spend a minute transferring it over, and then I pop back into my SIO, and I'm in game. I didn't have to worry about grabbing the disc off my shelf or burning it or what have you, and I'm playing it. Like, I love having both options.
I couldn't agree more. I really can't. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but there actually is an HDMI mod solution coming out for the PS1 here pretty soon.
I did see that, and it's funny how that came about, because I think it's like Citrus 3000 PSI and someone else are working on it, but they were actually working on a PS2 HDMI, and they said, well, you know what? We are still working on this, but we're actually going to knock out the PS1 HDMI first.
Which is insane. I'm like, this is great.
Yep. So.
Yeah, they mentioned some pretty cool details with it, like so with the installation, they have a mod chip already built into the HDMI solution.
What?
So it's like,
what?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like, are you familiar with like the PSNI? It's like basically an Arduino based,
Yeah, I never got to
chip.
successfully flash or compile, but I know what you're talking about.
So they basically took that with the creator of that and then integrated it into their FPGA.
Holy shit.
It's so awesome.
Holy
it's like,
shit. Like I was sitting here like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get one, but that just made me, I'm like, no, I probably want to get one now.
I mean, I'm at the point now, like, this is so bad. Like, I posted on Twitter because I was like, I'm dead serious. Like, and I'm sure you're in a similar situation. Like, dude, I need HDMI ports like it's going out of fashion. Like, at this point, I recently just got like a 16 port switch because
I saw that.
I'm dire for HDMI ports. And like, I've already got 10 of them filled. And I'm like, my God, like, what else am I going to, okay, well now the PS1's going to be on HDMI. It's just like ridiculous.
Oh man. I think I'm still good with thankfully, like I haven't had a need for PS1 HDMI, even though it's a nice want, but I've actually been real good with my FrameMeister and then just doing RGB SCART from the PS1. That's what
I've got.
Great for me. But yeah, it'd be, I think maybe the only benefit I would really like is if we were able to just lock it into a certain output resolution on the PS1 HDMI, because you'll run into games like, for example, like Chrono Cross is a real infamous one, but when I was playing through Silent Hill, where the game runs in 240p and then the menus are in 480i, so I had to strategically think of that, like playing on the FrameMeister. I'm like, okay, pause, 5 seconds, there we go, now I can do all my menu stuff. All right, unpause, run around. Okay, now I can see.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Did you get a chance to mess around with a DC HDMI yet by chance?
No, I haven't done any of those HDMI installs.
Okay. Yeah, so I will say, like, the Dreamcast HDMI, like, I've done a few of them. I've probably done like 5 of them myself. And every time, like, I've done a few installs for friends, and like every time I install one, I'm like, God, the video quality is just outstanding. I'll have to send a console over to you to mess around with, just so you can check it out.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. It's just like, it's so, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, you look at the Dreamcast and you're like, okay, yeah, it looks fine. And then you put like that on and you have like all the different like scaling and filtering options. And you're like, oh my God, this looks outstanding. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it took like a little generational, like, refresh, so to speak.
The rebuilds people have done with the Dreamcast have been impressive, because like if you wanted to get a fully loaded Dreamcast now, you can do a GDMU, do a get one of those like Dream PSUs, which will make everything run much cooler, and then do a DC HDMI, and you have like the ultimate Dreamcast right there.
Absolutely. And like there's even crazier stuff like like people are coming out with like Bluetooth controllers for them and stuff
Yep,
like
I've
that
seen
too.
that.
It's
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
like
There's I
it's
think Adam Korlick reviewed one of them. Sorry to cut you off, but
he
like
did.
he was like the guy who was doing them. He was taking original Dreamcast controllers and modding like Bluetooth into them, but he was getting new old stock. So you were getting a brand new Dreamcast controller.
Which is insane. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, I mean, like, could you imagine rolling around? I mean, man, that is so cool. So cool.
It is. It really is. It makes me happy seeing all that. Like it just new life breathed into everything.
Absolutely. It's crazy. So the Dreamcast, back in the day is actually what got me into like the whole modding scene in general, which is funny, like looking back on it. Cause I mean, okay, so you remember like, obviously, everyone talks about, oh, back on the playground, people used to argue between the Genesis and the Super Nintendo and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, okay, that's literally how I figured out that you could like burn CDs and play them on a Dreamcast.
Really? Was it like one of your friends who's just like, oh yeah, my dad just burns my Dreamcast games?
Pretty much. I mean, like we were sitting there and, this is in high school and we were, going to a sporting event and we were on the school bus and like literally one of my buddies is like, hey, he's like, did you ever get that Dreamcast? And I was like, oh man, I just haven't gotten it yet. He's like, oh, check it out. I'm using this thing called MIRC to download these Dreamcast games. And I'm like, wait, what?
And you're just hearing free games right there as a high schooler. And that's how everyone gets into it.
It's so funny. Yeah. So I went out and bought a Dreamcast later that week. How crazy is that?
That's awesome. I love hearing stories like that. It's it wasn't, I got a Dreamcast later on in life, and that was one of the motivating factors. I was like, oh, I can kind of just, get the console for cheap and then don't have to pay for the games, even though now I'm building up my collection. But no, there was a lot of rumors of the original Xbox. The downside, though, that I was hearing is that I was hearing a lot of stupid rumors. Like one person at my school, he's like, "Oh yeah, my cousin said if you install a chip inside your Xbox One, you like what your original Xbox, what Xbox at this point was like, if you install a chip inside your Xbox, you can burn CDs." It's like, no, you can't. Like, who told you this?
It's funny how all that stuff starts. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. Well, so get this, at my old job, someone was like, oh, I installed a mod chip into my Xbox. And this is before I started, modding them. He's like, yeah, it goes in like this thing called orange mode. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's like the LED turns orange on the front. Like, oh my God.
That's amazing.
I was like, man, I was just gonna say, like you said, with like the burning CDs, it's like, where do people come up with this stuff?
Yeah, orange mode though. I guess that one you can technically see it, but that's really funny.
It is.
I know with that, I don't know if I've spawned any of those stories with my brothers, but it's like my younger brothers, I've always, aside from like their new systems, because like the Switch, they play online and such, and then PS4, Xbox One, you really can't do any mods aside from dev mode on the Xbox One, and the PS4, if you're going to play online, you can't have a modded system.
Right.
But what had happened was when they were growing up, like, I had, I'd given them a few 360s and such that had different mods. And the thing was, like, at first I gave them a flash system, so they were using all their burned discs. And if one, got worn down, they were able to, I was just able to burn off another one for them. But eventually I got them a RJ tag where they could just load up all their games right off the hard drive, don't have to worry about discs. And whenever they bought a new game or had a new one gifted to them, I'd immediately rip it over, convert it to a game-on-demand title that was unlocked, and they could just play it there and never have to worry about the disc. The Wii, from day one, that's what it was. Like, I ended up buying a Wii. There was, like, a few games I wanted to play, but I mostly got it for them. And I modded it, of course, day one, and got an external hard drive, so they were just, loading up all their games through configurable USB loader. That was it.
Yep.
That was the Wii, and then the PS3 they really didn't mess with, but like their DS Lites, I also had flash cards on those as well too. But it's really funny because it was kind of like twofold on there, where my brothers would always have friends come over, and their friends thought their systems were so cool because it's like, yeah, they had Wiis and 360s at home, but my brothers turn on their 360 and I'm super proud of it. Like I built like a custom Sonic the Hedgehog system for them and painted it and put awesome sounds into it and reprogrammed all that. So, you cut on the 360, it boots up into a whole different dashboard, all their games load up right there. They have all these crazy modded Minecraft maps they can load up and all these different saves. And then the Wii, the same thing there. So their friends would always ask them, what was up with their systems. And my brother was like, oh, I don't know. My brother did something with that. Like my brother did something to the Wii and now it does that. It's always been like that. But on the flip side, my brothers always thought it was so weird that they would go over to a friend's house and their Wii was a lot more boring and they had to launch all the games manually, and they would have to actually go to a shelf and grab a disc off the shelf and put that disc in the Wii, because like we had all of our disc-based games, so my brothers didn't touch them. They just loaded all of them off of the USB drive.
Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was, the funny thing is it was just about a year ago. One of my brothers never made the connection until now. He had no idea the games on his flash cart for his DS were ROM files.
Oh, that is too funny.
He knew about ROMs, but when like most people, when I say the word ROM, you think of Super Nintendo Genesis, like a Nintendo game, something like that. And he thinks that same way, but he never relayed that to, oh, I'm actually playing ROMs on here.
That is so funny. Man, I'll tell you what, you're a nice older brother doing all that for them. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I always wanted to be that cool older brother to them, so that's why I did all that stuff.
Good for you. Good for you. I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Also, I'd rather them not damage their expensive games, so that too.
Absolutely. Oh, let there be no doubt.
Yes.
Especially like I was talking about that Saturn collection, like the prices on those are insane. It's like the same thing, it's like, man, I'm better off not playing this from the disc, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, but you still I know it is though. You still want the option to play it from the disc.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of people, kind of agree. There's something so nostalgic about just going to the shelf, pulling something off the shelf, getting it out of the case, putting it in, closing it, turning it on, and just like boom. It's like. Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's like it's one of those things. It's like the gaming ritual. You know what I mean?
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And at some point, no one's going to know what the heck we're talking about.
Yep. That'll be a sad day.
It really will. It really will.
Yeah. Speaking of games, though, I either discuss this myself or I always ask my guest on here. But what games are you currently playing?
Yeah, so I just wrapped up Luigi's Mansion earlier this month. I played it with my kid. That was a lot of fun.
That was Luigi's Mansion 3, right?
Yes, the third one. Yep.
Right on.
And then we're working our way through 2 games right now. Super Mario World, which has been a lot of fun. Playing it on the Super Nintendo. We made it to Bowser's Castle, right? Mm-hmm. And we've been stuck there for like a week. It's embarrassing. But he keeps on saying, hey, Daddy, can we go to Bowser's house? Like, it's so cute.
That's awesome.
It is. And then we've been playing Captain Toad. So those are the 3 games that we've been playing. It's funny, like a lot of the time it's like it's I've been spending more time playing some of these games with him, and it's been a lot of fun.
That really sounds awesome, just being able to share that and such.
It is. And then I've got Viva Pinata teed up for once we're done with those.
Oh, all right. I tried Viva Pinata a few times and I never got into it. Maybe I need to actually give it a fair shot again.
Well, I mean, I've never played it. I've heard it's like a great game especially for kids and stuff. So I was like, It was like $10 at GameStop. Let's do it.
Yeah. It had a really cool looking special edition as well too.
Sure did. Yeah, yes. That's actually the one I got from GameStop, so I was pretty happy about it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the one where it's like the plastic cover and everything, and yeah, I know. I can see it in my head right now. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I agree, but I do think like I am excited. So like I do play a lot of Smash, just in general. Obviously, doing all those GameCube mods. I mean, playing a lot of Smash kind of just goes hand in hand.
Sure.
So I've been playing a lot of that. I'm still not going to say I'm good at it, but I enjoy it. And then, I don't know, I'm excited for the next Direct. I feel like, we got to be having one in the next, week or 2? Like, I don't know. I just feel like Nintendo's got a lot of stuff that they're just kind of stashing away, waiting to announce.
I think so. Some of the Direct stuff has really surprised me. Like one of the games I picked up and I was playing through a bit, like Deadly Premonition. Like, holy shit. I mean, I'm all for it, but like, who the hell was asking for Deadly Premonition on Switch? And especially then the sequel as well. And I was like, that is like one of the most surprising, I don't want to say unwelcome because that just sounds bad, but that was like just one of the best surprises. Because I was like, I don't want to sound bad, but like nobody was asking for this or expecting it on Switch, but it's happening and we're getting a sequel to it on Switch.
It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Like they're announcing, I don't know, it's hard to keep up on the Switch. There's just so many good games. It's like, I don't know. I'll tell you what. I mean, I really want to play Untitled Goose Game, but I'm like sitting here, like, because that would be a great game to play with my kid too, I think.
Yeah, dude, that game is so funny.
That's what I'm saying. He would love it too, by the way. But like, I want the physical edition. Like, I know there's going to be one. There has to be, right?
Do you have an Xbox One?
I do not know.
Okay, I was gonna say it's on Game Pass, so
Is it?
that's how I managed to double dip. I did purchase it day one on Switch, but then I played through it on Game Pass as well.
I'm gonna have to. I don't know. Maybe I'll just download it.
Yeah, that's I can't recommend that game enough. I know it's a meme, but like I was genuinely looking forward to it, and it's one of those. It was my game of the year for last year. I
know, that's why I'm
loved it.
like,
Yeah, my thing is like if a game can really make me smile and laugh, that just does so many things to me, and really will make it one of my favorite games. But it's kind of turned into one of those games now. I could foresee myself beating it every month or every other month because it's just like a quick
wow.
game and you know what to do and it's still funny and it's so charming and well done.
Yeah, I think I probably will get that and we'll play it because, like I said, he would really enjoy it. So, and I'm sure based on what you're saying, I'd enjoy it too.
Yeah, I did, like my girlfriend. I think she borderline hates it because I was like the day it came out, like I was just freaking out about, like I was giggling over every little thing and playing it, and I was annoying her with the trailers and all that stuff. Like I was looking forward to this game so much, non-ironically. And then it's funny because she has a Switch Lite, and
Yep.
she had used my account at one point to play it because I put the game on her system, but she had to use my account. And like all the stuff I was annoying her with, all of a sudden she started doing it, and she's like showing me. She's like, "Look, I'm about to drop the sandwich in the lake," and she's just busting out laughing. I'm like, "See,
That's
now
awesome.
now you understand this."
Yeah,
we even
you get it.
Yeah, my brothers were playing it as well. My mom was getting into it as well too. Like we had her play it. What else was there? One of my good friends, friend the show as well too, Paranoid Coder. The last time he had come over, we were gonna play a few games here and there, and then it just turned into him playing Untitled Goose Game for like an hour and a half on my Switch, and I was kind of telling him what to do when he was getting stuck, and he loved it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go download it as soon as we're done here.
Okay, yeah,
I'm convinced.
I'm telling you, I would have no issue double dipping on it. Like because I've only paid for it once, thankfully, just on Switch. But I think I paid the $15 for it when it first came out. It's $20 now. I think it's still totally worth the $20 just for all the enjoyment I got. Whenever I'm really hoping it does, but whenever it comes out physically, I'm probably gonna buy like 5 copies of it and just gift them to people.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, no, when I'm like sitting here and I'm like, come on, limited run games, like pick this one up. I'm sure they probably have a deal in the works.
They did say, unfortunately, because they were asking, I think a few weeks ago, or in the past week, they were asking, hey, what games would you like to see us release physically? Tons of people were saying Untitled Goose Game, and they did explicitly respond to someone and say there are no current plans to release Untitled Goose Game physically. And I'm
disappointing.
I'm just like, okay, there's no plans currently, but that can change. Like, please change it.
Oh yeah, well plans change every day. I mean,
yeah. They could probably even self-publish it themselves, I'm sure. I mean, the game has just taken everything by storm, so people know what the hell Untitled Goose Game is.
Absolutely. I mean, like, it's kind of it has like maybe not full Cuphead potential because it doesn't have Microsoft's backing, but like it's got it could definitely do that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's another thing. Cuphead is on Switch as well too, so I always forget about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's how I played it because, like I said, I don't have an Xbox, but
Sure.
that was a great game too. Great game.
I did not play it because I don't like those constantly dying and memorized path games, but I've thought it looked so, like, honestly, if I do play through it, I'm probably going to use like a cheat trainer or something just so I can play through the game and appreciate like the story and like the fun factor there. And I know that's kind of ruining the point of the game, but I'm like, look, I want to play the game to enjoy it, not to rage.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I agree. It's a hard game, but I found it satisfying nonetheless. I'll put it like this: no level's that long where you're in pain for that long, if that makes any sense.
Sure,
it's like eating spicy food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know it's spicy. You know it's going to be spicy, but you eat it, and then you go through the spicy moment for a second or two, and you're like, man, that's actually really good. I'd like some more.
Yeah, and you keep going, and then like 8 hours later, you definitely do feel it, but. Yeah,
absolutely.
I absolutely love spicy, like hot. I love food that's well spiced, but I also love hot spice as well. So
I do too. Yeah, no, it's always a good decision.
It's good. I'm happy to know that because I feel like I know so many people that are just like, no, I don't want anything hot or spicy. I'm like, come on, just it's good.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so good. I don't know. I think it's really good. Like, and the thing that's interesting about it is like, I don't know. It sounds weird, but I feel like after I'm done eating it, like, I never feel like I overate. If that makes any sense. Like, because you know you got to take your time eating it typically, right? And yeah, I never feel like I overeat. Whereas other things, it certainly happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've really had that. I kinda just scarf it down.
Nice.
I'm like,
I
oh,
like
this
it.
is so good. I'm just gonna keep going. But that's me.
Like it. Like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I do have a small list of games here for the stuff that I've been playing recently.
Yeah, please do.
Let me see. I'll even fire this up. So it's like, of course, Final Fantasy VII. I talked about. I'd already finished that. Night in the Woods. I finished that again. Just like, I'll put it like this: that when the first time, because I played through it twice. The first time I played it, it just seemed like the best type of. It seemed like such a slice of life game I wanted to play through. You play through a 20, like you play as a 20-year-old, I guess I was going to say woman, but yeah, I guess in this case I could say it. You play through as a 20-year-old woman named May, who she just dropped out of college. She's going back to her old town, living with her parents, and you kind of just deal with the trials and tribulations of, the excitement of seeing your family and your friends again, but then you came back, for a bad reason because you dropped out, so you're kind of embarrassed to talk about that, and then things aren't really the best at home, and you're kind of dealing with friends changing and friends starting to move away and just all this other stuff. So it seems like a real, like, realistic slice of life type thing, like what kind of the stuff that attracted me to regular show in the first place, where there's some storylines that are like that, but they're in, a kids type game. And the reason why I kind of hesitate on the woman thing is because everyone is a type of animal. So like May's a cat, and your best friend is a fox who's dating a bear, and like everyone's just, it's like this real cute homey aesthetic.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so that was real cool to play through again. I played through West of Loathing, which is just a really funny RPG, like black and white RPG. I played through this on the Switch, and that was kind of another game I just kind of felt like playing at that point. And I mean, it's all text-based, but it's absolutely hilarious to play through. I'm currently playing through Steins Gate Elite right now, which is like the visual novel of choice that I'm picking up. And Elite is different than the original one. Like, I played through a bit of the original, which is just kind of a traditional visual novel. But Elite, the difference is on it, which a lot of people were complaining about this. I actually like it. They actually have moving cutscenes, and the whole thing is scenes from the anime itself, but then you're reading through them. Yeah, and I thought that was a really cool take on it.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, I will say I don't tend to play many visual novels, but I feel like a little bit of, like, cutscene like that, it wouldn't be such a bad thing. I think it would definitely help, spice it up and just change it just a little bit, you know what I mean, as you're playing through.
I would definitely agree with that, yeah. So that's, I mean, if you're looking for a visual novel, that's certainly not a bad one to start off on, just because a lot of people say it's like, oh, it's kind of just like watching a subbed anime, because you're not just looking at, because I've played through, and I complained about this in like my Game of the Year video, but I played through some other visual novels. Like, one of them was like The House in Fata Morgana, where it was just a background and a character would show up, and that was it. And it's expected to read a lot, don't get me wrong, but when you're looking at the same thing for like 40 hours, it really does get tiring. But having some kind of like more, movement and such, and something else that you see, like in this case, Steins Gate, where they have full anime scenes in there, or you play through something else like Root Letter, where they're able to like move a lot more things on screen and be a lot more interactive, or even like Deathmark, where you're actually looking for clues and such. That's more welcoming to me, just because if you're going to be spending so much time only reading, it's nice to have something else that's movement based presented for your eyes.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'll have to check one of those out, because that does sound interesting.
Yeah, I would recommend it. And then the last one, this is the other game that I finished this month. So, because I talked about Deathmark a bit, and then its sequel, I don't think I really mentioned, but it's called Spirit Hunter NG, and I finished it. I really liked it. Like, at first, I was thinking, it's not as good as Deathmark, and I think I'd be a bit more willing to say, story-wise, I like Deathmark more. But what I like about NG is that they pretty much took all the faults with Deathmark and improved upon them. So you could actually skip through dialogue a bit easier. You could was it there's more, there are more things that are happening on screen. But even so, one of the bad things about Deathmark is there's certain times you can fail a sequence and someone will die because you need a certain person for this, or you need a certain item, or what have you. And
Sure.
NG holds your hand a lot more on that, which some people might not like. But on Deathmark, it was a little bit frustrating at times if you didn't know what the hell to do. On
Yeah, of
Spirit
course.
Hunter NG, they completely kind of changed that. So sometimes, like, something is going on, like you're going through a house, let's say in this example, and then they say, yeah, well, you need to do this other thing. All right, in order to do this, you do need to switch characters. Like, they will give you that prompt to allow you to progress further.
That's nice. That's actually really nice.
Yeah.
I agree. That's frustrating if you're dying for the sake of dying at that, otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that addition's been super welcome on there. I will say, though, like, I definitely grew to respect it a lot more as the game goes on and all that. And I think even storyline wise, it is a lot more fucked up than Deathmark at times. So it's one of those, I really don't recommend this series for, like, the faint of heart at times, but it's great so far. It's supposed to be, like, even Deathmark, it's supposed to be part of the Spirit Hunter series. So Deathmark is the first one, and then NG, it's kind of a sequel. Like, it happens after the events of Deathmark, and it's in the same universe, but it's not a true sequel to it, so to speak. But both of them are fantastic.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, definitely something to check out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're all good on that, at least. So I think we're good to wrap up. What do you think?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So, Rocker, where can people find you online?
Yeah, so you can check me out. I'm on YouTube at Rocker Gaming. And then if you're also interested, you can take a look at either Twitter or Instagram. But primarily, I'm posting most of my stuff on YouTube. And then I also run an Etsy store, which is Rocker Gaming. And I sell my creations on there and have various mod kits and things like that if you're interested in checking them out.
Sounds good. And I will go ahead and, put your links down below in the description on the YouTube upload here. So that would be the place to find him if you're wanting to check out some of the stuff he does and such. And it's some real cool shit that you do, my dude.
Dude, I appreciate that. Yeah, and honestly, man, thank you so much for not only inviting me on here today, but just in general being awesome to work with. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I mean, like, there's a lot of different people that you'll meet, out there in the world, and Mr. Mario's just a class act in general. So I really appreciate
that.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, you've been one of the most upfront people I've met, and honestly, a lot of people wouldn't do the things that you've done, not only for me, but for others as well. So I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I feel like you're giving me a little bit too much credit at times, but yeah, it's one of those things. I know with, like, the collaborations we've done and such, I want to be transparent with, like, even the first stuff that you had sent me originally. I was like, hey, it's gonna be a while until I get to this, but I'll get to it eventually. And then even so, I do have respect for you, where you were coming to me for collabs. You're like, hey, I'd like to do this thing. This is the idea I have. This is what I want to do, and it's like, awesome, because I mean, through my tenure on YouTube, I've met so many people where they see my sub count and they're just like, hey, let's collab. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? They're like, oh, I don't know, let's collab. I'm like, no, I don't want to. When I collab, I want to have fun. I don't really want to think.
Exactly. I mean, that's like the name of the game, especially like, to your point, it's like you want to come up with something that works for both people. And it's hard because some people, like you said, just come to you and be like, hey, let's collab. And it's like, well, you got to know me. You got to know what my strengths are. You got to know what what I could be good at or what I'd like. And
Exactly.
It's like as someone who's watched your channel for a long time, it's like, I feel like I understand that, you know what I'm saying? And it's, like I said, it just made a really good pairing.
Yeah, I would say so for sure. So I look forward to more stuff like that. But I know even on Twitter recently, I'd seen kind of this exchange. It was between, like, musical artists and such, where kind of in the same vein, it was one artist, they were saying, hey, I'm doing features for $50. If you want me on a verse, let me know. So one person ended up paying $50, and they said, okay, cool. Go ahead, record a verse for me. And the artist's like, all right, awesome. Go ahead, send what work you have over, and we'll do it. And they didn't have anything recorded on this. So they're just
wow.
like, dude, you got to send me the instrumental. You got to send me, like, the vocals that you've done on here so I can write a verse properly and do this. And
That's crazy.
The person who was wanting this feature, they just did not understand. So the original person, they're like, all right, if you want me to, like, write the whole song for you, like, you want me to, like, structure this out and everything, you're going to have to pay me more money. Like, the idea
Absolutely.
is you got to bring me, the chorus, the verses you've done. So I know what the hell I'm singing about, and then I can write to this and do a verse on here. And that's kind of the same thing on this. Like, it's very much, and again, I can appreciate with this, especially with you and with any other people, where it's like, yeah, come to me and have just with any collaboration in general, have a game plan, have something set up, and of course that's not going to be the final product. If you're working with
No.
someone, where that was when the first collab we did with the controller, I was like, yeah, I have this other idea, I want to bring in my friend Sean, this is what I'm wanting to do, this is what I'm wanting to act out, and that was like that the script we had, it evolved quite a bit. But
did.
yeah, but if you just came to me and said, hey, let's do this, and you had nothing else, I'm just like, I'm sorry, I can't work with this here. Like, again,
No.
I'm doing this, I want to have fun doing this, I don't want this to turn into work.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole fun of it. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And that's I don't know. I will say though, like, to your point, man, like doing the collabs though, they really are a lot of fun. I will say, like, I've really, really been enjoying doing those.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things, it can be tough to do as well too in the modding sphere, I feel like.
It is. It really is. Well, it's funny because, like, it's crazy. A lot of people, like, in the modding scene have a lot of similar strengths, right?
Sure.
In terms of, like, hey, like, you can clearly solder. You're good at soldering. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
so me soldering something for you might not, you know what I mean? That's not that enticing. But, if we can come up with something that, is enticing, I think it works where we can both play off each other in that regard. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah.
You're right though. It's very difficult in the modding, subspace to do that.
Yeah, and thankfully, like, there's been, branching out and such, but originally when I was just doing tutorials for the most part, I was like, how am I supposed to collab with someone else over a tutorial? Which is,
Oh, yeah.
and I've seen people do collaborative tutorials, and it doesn't really do much in terms of like growth or like really helping out a viewer or anything, because it's kind of, they're just coming there for the information. It's not really so much an entertainment type thing. You know what I mean?
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. That's always the tough part. That's actually, I mean, it's funny. That's one of the things I've been like really, really, really trying to do is like, how do you spice up your entertainment game when you're doing like either a tutorial or you're showing off a project and kind of like all the steps you went through? It's like easier said than done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've been even thinking of ways you could do it for a project and such, but like for a tutorial, it's like, what, I don't really want a bunch of memes and stuff in my tutorials. When I'm like when I'm watching
agree.
other, like if I'm trying to watch something and get the information, I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't need any of this other stuff. I don't need this other fluff.
I'd agree. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Cool. Anyways, one of the last things I want to do, which I always put this on the guest here. So for anybody, who enjoyed this or wants to comment or, to converse or, give your thoughts on the episode, I do ask for people to comment on the YouTube upload of this, which is on my channel, Mr. Mario 2011. But to know we got you to the end, typically we do a keyword of some kind. So, Rocker, what keyword do you think people should use so they can use it in their comments somehow, and we know that they got to the end of this episode?
Oh man, I think it's got to be pepperoni pizza, right?
Pepperoni. Oh, so 2 words. All right. So pepperoni pizza. That's what it is. So yeah, if you use pepperoni pizza in your comments somehow, you want to talk about how much you love it, how much you hate it, how there was the first time I ever had pepperoni pizza, I actually threw it up all over the place. If you want to,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. But anyways, if you want to talk about that, use the term pepperoni pizza in your comments, and we will know that you got to the end of this episode. Yeah. So anyways,
Good.
this Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching and listening, and until next time.